My best friend's ex-mother-in-law demands my friend become a submissive wife to her stalker son. This is part 2 of the stalking ex story, posted almost a month after last update. If you haven't watched the first part yet, click the link in the description. Now on to the story. This is an ongoing mess with my female 29 best friend's female 30, ex-male 29, and now her ex-mother-in-law. Now, my bestie never married her ex, but for simplicity's sake, I'll refer to her ex's parents as ex-mother-in-law and ex-father-in-law. Bestie and I lived together with my parents in a newly bought house. She's pretty much a daughter to my parents, and we are platonic life partners by this point. Her ex ghosted her for 3 years and has been hounding her ever since he found out we bought a house, trying to get her to take him back and live in our house. We've tried reaching to the police, but since nothing serious has happened, we've reached a wall and can only wait. Her ex-in-laws no longer live in the US, but they did come for Thanksgiving. Though my bestie is no longer dating their son, she offered to pick them up at the airport and take them to their hotel. Reason I was told was they would do that for her when she was in college. I didn't like it since her ex is a problem, but she wanted to use the chance to ask her ex's parents to intervene and maybe get him off her back. I still didn't like it, but I figured they probably were okay, based on how she described them. And I was completely wrong. My bestie arrived in tears and with a scratched cheek. Immediately I asked her what happened and now I'm seeing red. The next part comes from how my bestie described things to me. Bestie told me picking them up went well, and they had talked about the old days. They asked my bestie if they could stop in a nearby restaurant they always liked, and bestie, being her usual self, decided to treat them to lunch. All hell broke loose at a restaurant though. Apparently, her ex-mother-in-law demanded to know why bestie did not take her abusive stalker ex back. According to ex-mother-in-law, my bestie is responsible for her baby boy since she was his girlfriend, and they were married in the eyes of God. To start, they'd never legally marry, and bestie is an atheist. So yeah, bestie tried to defuse the situation, explaining she's moved on with her life after 3 years not knowing where he was. She did try to ask her ex-mother-in-law to convince her son to leave her alone, and that bestie just doesn't want him in her life anymore. Ex-father-in-law seemed to agree with her, and apologized for all the heartache and pain she went through. Ex-mother-in-law, however, took over the conversation, and began screaming that thanks to my bestie, her son had no life. That apparently, my bestie was responsible for her firstborn not having a wife, her children. And the least she could do is take responsibility and become the submissive wife he deserved. Ex-father-in-law tried to pull his wife away, more than likely because they were causing a very public scene. Bestie simply said she would not ever consider marriage to her ex. She then said it might be best to take the food to go, and for them to go to their hotel. She paid all the food, despite ex-father-in-law offering to cover his and his wife's meal, and drove them to the hotel. On the way to the hotel is where things went from 1 to 100. Ex-mother-in-law had spent the whole drive escalating demands. From taking him back to marrying him, to have a child and give her son the house as the man in the relationship. Ex-father-in-law apparently kept telling her to stop, but there was no way she could be quiet. Finally, my bestie had enough, stopped the car and told ex-mother-in-law she will never take a failure of a man like her baby boy as a husband, let alone give birth to his spawn. That she was glad no other woman had stayed long-term with him, since he really won't be a good addition to the gene pool. I gotta admit, I'm proud of her for that last one. Ex-mother-in-law went crazy and jumped on my friend. Her husband luckily grabbed her, but she still manages to get my friend on the cheek. She began screaming BFF was the reason her family had split, called her a whore in our native language, and said she wished our house burnt with all of us inside. Ex-father-in-law just told my friend to drop their bags on the sidewalk and drive away while he held back his demon of a wife. And bestie did exactly that. Next thing she did was drive back to us. She was not so much hurt by the insults or even the attack, but more the notion that a woman she once saw as a second mother would treat her like this. I told her to just relax a bit, so she's watching some movies with the dogs while I write this and do some work. Tomorrow we're both calling out and just having a girls' day with my mom. I did get in touch with the ex's sister and let her know what happened. She already knew from her dad and asked if bestie was pressing charges. She should, but she's not. I tried to convince her, but it's a sore topic for her, so for her emotional well-being I'm not going to push it. The sister said she appreciates we're not pressing charges, and that she'll make sure her family doesn't bother us in any way. Apparently she already had her brother moved outside the city. Not sure how or where, but I'm glad he's gone. So hopefully we're done. We're going to avoid going out too often until we know the ex-monster-in-law is gone from the city. It's not a small city by any means, but I wouldn't put it past these crazies to try to stalk my bestie. Now for the top comments before reading the last update. Pressing charges will expedite the restraining order. Your bestie seriously needs to rethink her decision. The ex-mother-in-law is deranged and dangerous. Another good reason to press charges is to establish documentation of the ex-mother-in-law's violent behavior. If, hopefully not, a fire does happen, documentation will point the authorities in the right direction as to who possibly started it. I absolutely agree, but I also know right now is not the right time to push it. I'm hoping my mom can talk to her about it. At the very least, pictures need to be taken of the scratches. Pictures sent to an email with a detailed account of the attack, just in case it's needed later. Hopefully ex-mother-in-law is going back to her country. They can find their own way to the airport. Meanwhile, block her on the phone and social. That family, except for the sister, is beyond arranged. Your bestie needs to stay away from that toxic, dangerous family. Bestie needs a reality check because she is still in contact with them. I was thinking the same. At some point, bestie needs to take accountability for the role she's playing in allowing these people access to her. You're making it worse for yourself, and then you're not even following through to protect yourself. Not only that, but she puts OP in danger adjacent. I know, my mom plans to talk to her about it and maybe convince her to do some therapy. Obviously, my mom can't be the therapist, but she knows some people that might be a good fit. Poor father-in-law too. He can't just drop her bag somewhere, but he wishes he could. He has probably been putting up with it for years. That's how these people get so out of control. Everybody knuckles under and doesn't call them out on their behavior. The bestie's doing it too. Just like her son, this mother is crazy. I found it ironic how mother-in-law was yelling about how women should be submissive to their husbands, but then ignored her own husband when he told her multiple times to stop yelling. Now for the update. After Thanksgiving dinner, my mom sent my bestie to have a serious talk. She told her she didn't want to diagnose her, but she was showing clear signs that she needed help, and therapy could be an option. They had a discussion about it, and my friend agreed to seek professional help. Since she lives with my mom, she's not an option, but mom is going to help her find someone. We just came from filing a police report. My friend won't press charges, but we made a paper trail to ensure that it's at least on the record. She apologized for not doing it immediately, and for going to meet her ex-in-laws. I told her I understand she's going through a lot of things. We'll see how things go, but she's like a sister to me and I refuse to let her go through it alone. As for people saying I have feelings for her, please stop. Like seriously stop. She's my family and I don't see her in any romantic or sexual way. It's annoying that people assume just because we have a strong friendship, it means I have romantic feelings. Last story. My 39 female husband, 38 male, fathered a child before we were together and I just found out 14 years later. Original post. After 12 years of marriage and 2 children together, I received a Facebook message yesterday from a woman who told me that she has a 15-year-old daughter that my husband has continually denied since her birth. The child was produced from a one-night stand, and afterwards my spouse did everything he could not to see his child. The mother eventually had his parental rights terminated, and she moved away for many years. Fast forward to now, my husband has buried the secret as deeply as possible. On the other hand, his daughter is now having some issues and her mother contacted my mother-in-law in January, imploring him to reach out to his daughter, threatening to tell me if he did not. Apparently, they had a 30-minute FaceTime which he lied about last night until confronted with evidence her mother provided to me. And then he admitted that it was true, and then he blocked the account so she could not contact him again. Her mother claimed she sent the message out of love and concern for her daughter, and I understand that she wants her to have a connection with her biological father. But she blew my entire life up in the process. My husband has lied and lied and lied. He eventually admitted to everything but only went back into a corner. I asked him to leave the house last night so I could clear my head. But the truth is that I can't even look at him right now. I don't think I've ever felt so dumbfounded, hurt, confused, and betrayed all at the same time. My instinct is to call a lawyer to see where I stand, legally and financially, as I'm not sure I can continue this marriage, knowing that I might never feel like I can trust him again. My family thinks I'm being rash because I'm hurting so much, and this is 12-hour-old information. Also, knowing how he abandoned his first child makes me feel disgusted. Last night, he spoke about her as a mistake and a dark secret. He was never going to tell us about her existence because he was embarrassed. Regardless of what happened between he and I, there is a teenager out there who shares 25% of her genetic material with my beautiful children. I don't want that child, who did not ask to be born into such a messy situation, to be separated from her family forever. Even if he does not want to see her, I'd like my kids to eventually know their half-sister, because she deserves to be loved and supported, even if her father cannot. So now I'm left with options and questions, and I don't know how to proceed. Do I start the process to end my marriage, or do I try to keep my family together? When do we tell our small children about her half-sister? Anyone who has experienced this, all advice is welcome. Now for the top advice before reading the update. You are extending so much grace towards that child and I applaud you. Bottom line is, you will never trust him again. To keep such a secret for as long as he did is reprehensible. We had a great partnership before this. I'm devastated. But I don't want to continue a marriage that was based on lies. I completely understand. This is beyond a lie. This is a child's life. Your life is now forever changed. Why did he say he kept this from you? He said he was embarrassed. Since his parental rights had been terminated so many years ago, it felt like she didn't exist. He kept insisting that she was not his child, just a mistake that he made as a dumb kid. There's more backstory that will make him look even worse, but it's irrelevant at this point, just there to further add insult to his character. It seems like he just makes it worse and worse. Felt like she didn't exist? A mistake? She's a human being and shares 50% of his DNA. I can appreciate that he was stupid at 23, but my gosh. Every statement like these would make me even more disappointed in him as a human being. I feel all of this. I've been with my husband 10 years. If I found out something similar and he acted the way your husband did, I don't think I could ever trust him again. To hold on to such a big secret, to sneak around about it, then to lie when confronted? That's a lot. To top it all off, your mother-in-law knew. I know other Redditors are saying it's about how he has treated you and your children over the last 14 years, but to me it would all feel like a lie. Everyone in this situation needs counseling. I would definitely work on introducing children who share 50% of their DNA. If this child is struggling, knowing her siblings might help. It might also hurt. My mom was abandoned and her father raised other kids. She asked him once why, and he said he wasn't ready to be a father. That only made her pain worse, because why was he ready with them and never came back for her? Everyone involved needs serious counseling, and handle your feelings with your husband in the most honest way you can. Don't try to minimize things because of the idea of what your marriage is supposed to be or what others think you should do. I'm so sorry. He told me that he wasn't ready to be a father at 23 multiple times last night. Is that the best thing he did for her was to terminate his rights? Update. I had a request to post an update, and interestingly enough, I saw a message today that he actually posted in the divorce subreddit after this all happened, but he deleted it, and it was full of half-truths. This is what's been going on, and I will answer some of your questions. The mother, Carrie, of this child, Danny, has been in contact with us both since this happened. She says that the reason they told me after all these years was because Danny wanted to be involved in the lives of her two half-sisters, my bio children. She has not asked for back child support or anything like that. But now Danny has decided that she wants nothing to do with my spouse, and Carrie doesn't seem to be facilitating the relationship with my family the way she originally stated. It seems like something is amiss, but I've been lied so many times that honestly, I just can't tell anymore. The termination of his parental rights. According to the both of them, she tried to push him into fatherhood, and when she finally realized that he had zero interest in being a dad, she had him sign away his rights, and then proceeded to disappear until Danny was 8. My spouse never paid child support and was never asked to pay child support. Both of them have told me that. Then Carrie got married and Jeff adopted Danny. I can't see my spouse's original post, but judging by the comments, it made it seem like he signed his rights away so Jeff could adopt her. But that's a lie. Danny was 8 when she was adopted, not an infant. Carrie tried to contact my spouse to sign those adoption papers in 2016, but he blocked her. So she contacted my mother-in-law, had him sign the papers, and the connection ceased again. Then they disappeared again until June of 2020, when Carrie reached out to my mother-in-law because Danny wanted to connect with her paternal biological family. My mother-in-law and sister-in-law proceeded to have a 2.5-year relationship with Danny through phone/video calls, sending presents/money, all the while hiding it from my spouse and lying to Carrie, telling her and Danny that my spouse knew but wanted nothing to do with them. I know this to be true, as I heard my mother-in-law admit it over the phone to my spouse while I was silent on a 3-way call. My spouse had zero idea that anyone had contact with Carrie or Danny until a week after I found out about this situation. In January of 2023, Carrie delivered my in-laws an ultimatum. Either produce Danny's bio dad, or they would contact me and let me know what's been happening over the past 15 years. My spouse then agreed to a video call with Danny, where he promised that he would tell me he'd make an effort to make her a part of our lives. Within hours, he had Carrie blocked, and his mother and sister were so scared of their lie being discovered that they stopped talking to Danny altogether, without an explanation. Fast forward to September 2023, my mother-in-law texts Danny to have a good school year, and that was the last straw that broke the camel's back. A few weeks later, I received a message that would change our seemingly happy life forever. Presently, he has cut off his family completely. Carrie has also cut off all communication with his mother and sister. They're toxic, and it is the right decision for now. He comes from a long line of liars, and he is no different. He and I are both in therapy. Marriage counseling starting next week. I'm having good days and bad, as expected. My oldest child will be starting private therapy as well. We haven't told her about Nanny, but I don't feel right about keeping the secret. And I know both of my kids have been suffering from the fighting and disruption to their normally quiet lives. I've been trying to put my pieces back together, but I'm still very shattered. I'm journaling out my feelings, but anger is present a lot. I don't know if I can ever trust him again. I don't know if I can ever trust anybody again. But I'm working on it with a lot of help from my parents, friends, and therapists. How do I build trust again with the father of my children, even if it's just as co-parents? How do you build trust? You don't. You have some self-worth and get you and your kids out of that up situation. This comment made me feel terrible. I actually have a lot of self-worth. I know that I'm a good person, and both myself and my family deserve better than this. Trust is a really important thing for me and anyone who has a heart, even if I just need to build enough to feel comfortable leaving the kids with him alone in his new place. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister that she is as bad as our father? I, 28 female, have an older sister, 33 female. Our parents divorced when we were 4 and 9. Our mother got full custody because our father was not a good person. Then our father kidnapped us, and from 4 to 16 I lived with her and our father in cult. It was your run-off-the-mill Christian cult. Homeschooled, forced to dress modestly, any type of independence is seen as sinning, etc. But when I was 16, the cops finally arrested him and we were reunited with our mom. The first few years of freedom were wild. We finally got to grow as individuals, experiencing normal life and face our traumas in therapy. My sister became a tattooed, pink-haired career woman. I went to college, worked for a couple of years, met a good man, and decided that being a stay-at-home mom is what I really want. Looking at me, you would think that I am embodying what we were taught as kids in a cult, but that's not true. Just find myself in dressing in feminine clothes, taking care of my home, my husband, and my kid. I'm an equal in my relationship. I know how to assert myself, and I am as far from what I used to be as my sister is. My sister, on the other hand, doesn't think so. She takes every opportunity we meet to try and save me. She tries to convince me to leave my husband and my kid, pushes me to get a job, tries to force me to go clubbing with her, tried to force me to get makeovers, etc. I finally had enough yesterday. She made a dating profile for me on Tinder, and she has been chatting with a guy and had set a date already. I was furious. So we got into a screaming match that ended up with me telling her, "You are exactly like Dad. You are both trying to change me to fit the idea of what you think I should be." She was shocked, didn't say anything and just left. Her partner told me that she had an anxiety attack and is ramping up her therapy sessions. And now I am feeling like an a-hole. Not an a-hole. What you said is exactly right. She wouldn't listen to you before. Sometimes it takes a verbal slap in the face with reality to get through to someone. Something that I've learned, the people who visibly rebel the most tend to be the ones who are the most similar to what they're rebelling from. The sister embodies this intensely, given her need for control. I agree, and for this reason, I'm actually gonna go with no a-holes here. OP, first, I'm really glad you're both out of that situation. Even though you and your sister went through it together, it sounds like the experience affected you pretty differently, which makes sense since you're two different people. Based on what her partner told you about your sister's reaction, it sounds like her identity as the rebellious one is actually pretty brittle, sort of like an emotional exoskeleton. What you said to her wouldn't have affected her so much if there hadn't been a kernel of truth to it. It was hard to hear, but the good news is that she was ready to hear it. I know that because she heard it. If she wasn't ready for it, she would have shut down instantly by lashing out at you, doubling down on the party girl thing, etc. She'd probably have quit therapy too, but that's not what she did. She heard what you said and recognized the truth of it, and she's dealing with it in an appropriate way. It would probably be good to let her know you love her and that you're there for her, but also to give her some space and follow her lead for a bit. I know this is upsetting, but it also sounds pretty healthy. I think you're both gonna be okay. The moment you start pretending to be someone else online, you become the a-hole. I hope he's married. If her husband or anyone who knew her saw that Tinder account, she'd be receiving the heat of it, not the sister. Sister is an equal victim of the cult, but Opie didn't steal her identity online. That tips it to not the a-hole for me. She needed to hear the truth, Opie. Ramping up her therapy sessions is the best thing you can do right now. All the women I know in harmful relationships have careers. She needs to learn that's not a way to measure freedom. Definitely not the a-hole. It sounds like you are happy and secure in being who you want to be. It's not your fault that she can't see or accept that. It almost feels like she's overcompensating for the lifestyle you had growing up, while you've found your middle ground. For her to create a Tinder profile for her happily married sister, and even chat up guys as you, is wrong on so many levels, and crosses so many lines that I can't even find a proper word for my disgust. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not treating my stepkids equally? I started dating Daniel 2.5 years ago and we got married last year. Daniel has 5 kids with his ex-wife. Ava 11, Jason 9, Isabella 6, Sophia 5, and Andrew 3. Daniel's ex never liked Ava. She blames Ava for leaving her trapped in a relationship with her dad. When they got divorced, she said she didn't want anything to do with Ava. She was 8 years old at the time. Ava's mom leaving but having a relationship with her siblings destroyed her. She had to go to the hospital 3 times over the first 4 months. She didn't sleep nor eat and would have panic attacks at school. The weeks Ava's siblings were with her mom were the hardest, because it was a constant reminder that her mom loved her siblings and not her. She would barely get out of bed those weeks. So around 2 years ago, I surprised her with a day trip to the beach. I bought her a cute swimsuit. We got ice cream. We went boogie boarding, went out to eat, and went shopping. It was the first time I'd seen her smile in weeks. I noticed it was helping Ava, so we started to go out more and more. When her siblings are here, it's something small like dinner before therapy, but when they're not here, we go camping, we go hiking, we try new restaurants, we go back to the beach, etc., and she loves it. I don't spend nearly as much one-on-one time with the other 4 kids for 2 reasons. These kids already have a mom that loves them and they don't need it as much. It is so much easier to do anything with 1 kid than 5. When I spend time with Ava, I stick her in my Honda and we go. When I have all 5 kids, we take a big passenger van and they fight over everything. It takes twice as long to go somewhere because I keep having to pull over and break up a fight. I do take all 5 kids out 1 to 2 times a week when they're with us, but it's not usually a big trip like what I go on with Ava. We'll go to the beach 20 minutes away instead of the one almost 2 hours away. We'll go on the walking trail by our house instead of a 4-mile hike. Sometimes we have picnics in the park. The big thing this summer is the amusement park. I'll take all of the kids with their dad or their nanny. We go on some rides together, then one of us will take the older 2 to go on all of the scary rides they want, while the other takes the younger 3 to the kiddie rides that the older 2 are way too big and mature to go near. Then we meet up at a water park. We've done this at least once a week this summer. Recently, my husband asked me to start taking the younger 4 on day trips, like the kind Ava and I go on, because they're starting to get jealous. I said I'll try to plan more fun activities, but my trips with Ava aren't suitable for all 5 kids. He said I should try to treat the kids equally and either not take Ava or take everybody. I said I will, when he takes all 5 kids camping or on a 4-mile hike by himself. He called me a bad stepmom, so I wanted to know if I was the a-hole. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Why doesn't their father do as much for his kids as you do? I think, given the circumstances, you're not doing anything wrong here, aside from the misleading title. Their dad works a lot and travels a lot for work. They are his responsibility and he should make time to be with them. He knows that his ex is emotionally harming Ava and you are supporting Ava, but he is demanding that you stop? He is not being a good father. He said I should try to treat the kids equally and either not take Ava or take everybody. The kids aren't equal, and the other 4 have a mother. Ava only has you. Crazily enough, you got yourself in the position where you're Ava's adoptive mom and stepmom to the others. In fact, even though it make the issues worse, I might suggest you look into legally adopting Ava. That way you have rights to her if you and your husband don't work out. Not the Holopi. Your husband is callous and ridiculous. You need to have a serious talk one-on-one with the others. See if you can nip this complaining in the bud, if he is telling the truth, and this isn't originating with the ex as another way to destroy Ava. Not the a-hole. That poor little girl. You may not have come up with a perfect solution for helping this child, and it may be unfair to her siblings, but you are putting a hurting child first. She's lucky to have you. I agree with not the a-hole, but if anything OP does is unfair, it is caused by the unfair behavior of the biological mother. Trying to help and balancing out an unfair situation should not be called out as unfair. That would be excusing the root problem. Next story. Am I the a-hole for forcing my ex to cancel his business trip so he can watch our son after his girlfriend caused our nanny to quit? I had a nanny, Cora, who worked for both myself and my ex. While my ex paid her, he left most of the decisions about her employment and how she would care for our son to me. Cora asked me if it would be okay if she could bring her niece with her to work while she cares for my son, as her sister was in the hospital. Her niece and my son are both close in age, so I thought it would be nice for him to have a child to play with. And Cora has honestly been a lifesaver for the 2 years she's worked for us. Things were great, until Cora called me to tell me she was quitting. After my ex's girlfriend told her she couldn't bring her niece into his house, even after Cora had told her I had said it was fine. I tried to convince Cora not to quit, but she said girlfriend spoke to her so rudely that she couldn't continue working for us. When I called my ex, he agreed his girlfriend was in the wrong, but thought this would just mean I would stay home to care for our son and he would take care of us financially again. I told him he needed to cancel his business trip next week because our son is supposed to be with him from Thursday to Sunday. He told me he couldn't just cancel as the trip was important, but I was annoyed, so I told him that was too bad. And it was a good thing he was his own boss then because he had to watch our son on his days and he couldn't do that from the US. Now he's upset with me and his sister told me he broke up with his girlfriend in front of everybody because he was angry after our conversation. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. His childcare was lost due to his girlfriend and he is responsible for finding backup childcare during his parenting time. Most parents have to schedule their business travel when their children aren't with them if they don't have alternative care. So, he needs to parent. He didn't have good boundaries with his girlfriend about her minding her manners with the important childcare provider he employs, and now he has consequences. I hope you can give the nanny a good reference for her next role. She did not deserve mistreatment. Hopefully you find an excellent new nanny shortly as well. I will also add that his girlfriend was probably of the eye candy category, and not someone he really cared about. Plus, how entitled can the guy be? The nanny quit, so my ex will quit her job and take care of the kid? My friend broke up with her narcissist ex, and every single inconvenience he experiences in his life is her problem to fix. He got a flat tire while transporting their infant and toddler. He called her to leave work to pick the kids up because he needed to go to the tire shop. Never mind normal custody handoff would be the following morning. He needed her to take over parenting because he couldn't plan a better time to get his tire fixed. That did not interfere with bedtime. Her work doesn't matter to him. Her family issues don't matter to him. Since their toddler was born, she lost 2 close family members in tragic, unexpected, and untimely circumstances. And both times, she was in crisis. He returned the kids early or skipped parenting time, when you know damn well she needed a minute to grieve without babies. These people feel like we're all here to make their lives easier, not that they have responsibility for contributing to their relationships. His girlfriend created a problem, and he expected you to give up your life because he doesn't want to be inconvenienced by his girlfriend's actions? My question is, why won't Cora come back if the girlfriend is no longer in the picture? Is there more to Cora leaving? Because when you have worked for a family for years in an intimate situation like Nanny does, you do have a breaking point. I'm going to guess the girlfriend was not treating Cora very well in general. That this was discussed with the father multiple times and he ignored the situation until it got to this point. Even if the girlfriend is gone, the father was disrespecting Cora by even putting her in this situation and she got fed up. Now for the last story, am I the a-hole for not giving my nephew his birthday gift? Just bear with me for a moment. My 29 female nephew Josh, 12 male, is quite spoiled. His parents, my brother and sister-in-law, show blatant favoritism towards him over his younger sister Lou, 9 female. As a result, sadly Josh has grown a little entitled. He also is quite mean to his younger sister, because his parents never believe her when she tells him what is done to her stuff. Now, I'm usually very strict, and when the kids are with me for a weekend, Josh is usually on his best behavior. Now, Josh's birthday was yesterday. Lou had a spelling bee last week, and she got first prize. Her parents brushed it off, but I was very happy for her because she spent hours learning each word, and I was very proud. So when I took the kid's day before Josh's birthday, so he could pick out a gift for his birthday, I got Lou a stuffed animal as a "you did great," while Josh picked this game that he's been wanting. The birthday party was yesterday, and when I went to their house, Lou had been grounded and was not allowed to attend, and the 2 friends she had invited were also sent back home. I thought it was extreme and asked what she had done. Turns out that Josh and her argued over the TV remote, and Josh went to her room and destroyed her stuffed animal that I gave her and told her she didn't deserve it. Lou screamed at him and my brother got angry with her temper tantrum and had her pick up the pieces of the stuffed animal and throw them in the trash, all the while she cried. She was then grounded. By the way, Josh's best friend was the one who spilled the beans to me and also told me that Josh goaded his parents into the punishment. I was furious and refused to give Josh's birthday present, telling him he didn't deserve it for being mean to his sister. I also told off my sister-in-law and brother that they're growing insanely cruel towards their young daughter. Now, my family is angry that I refused to give Josh's birthday gift. So, am I the a-hole? Now, for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Make sure you let her know that she has family that does love her and cares about her, because she is likely to need that support as she grows. Be ready to be put at a distance and ready to support her when you can. I'd start to document everything and ask about guardian rights for Lou. Poor thing being so neglected. I'd have a talk with brother and sister-in-law over this favoritism. And if it doesn't stop, then not only will they lose their relationship with their daughter, but also consider talking to a lawyer about gaining rights for her. She is being neglected and the punishment she's enduring. Keep an open channel with her so she knows she's got someone on her side. Not the a-hole. His parents are just the worst. They are, and they are making a monster. Well done for speaking up. Awful parents. Offer to adopt her if you can as they are negligent. I hope you're around when she's a teenager and needs somewhere to live when they find an excuse to kick her out. I come from a family where sons are preferred over daughters. When my sister-in-law found out she was expecting a girl, she wanted to get rid of her, but she was too far along. I did offer to adopt her multiple times, but they have an image to maintain, and they refused to let me. My parents were the same with me. Wait, what? How? Can I ask what culture you come from? And why boys are valued so highly that your sister-in-law considered aborting her daughter? I'm extremely curious because I've never heard anything like that before. I'm South Asian, but we live in the West. I don't want to share too much because sister-in-law is very active on this thread. Good. I hope she reads these comments. She's a terrible parent. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister there's a reason her kids chose to live with her dad? I, 32 female, have a 14-year-old daughter, Jess. Her father, my husband, died in an accident when she was young, so it's been just the 2 of us for a long time. As a result, we are very close, and she's a lot more open to me than most kids are with their parents. Around a week ago, she asked me if I could take her to the movies on a date with a guy in her class. I know the guy distantly because they've done some extracurriculars together, and I was thrilled he was my daughter's first boyfriend. I took them a few days ago and they ended up hanging at our house for a bit afterwards. He was extremely polite, and maybe it's just the mom inside me, but I couldn't be happier for her. I went to my older sister's house for a coffee earlier this morning. For backstory, my sister has 2 teenagers, 16 and 17, who live almost full-time with their dad. They had a very messy divorce around 3 years ago, and both kids choose to live with their dad. The reason for this was because my sister was extremely overbearing on them. She was the kind of mom who believed kids should have no privacy, and she should run their lives until they were adults. I know she had many arguments with them because she would take away their doors, not let them hang out with friends, search through their phones every night, etc. This was the primary reason for her divorce, although she won't admit that. While I love her, as someone who grew up with little privacy, I fully understand why her kids don't want to live with her. My daughter came up in conversation and so brought up her first date. When I explained how it went, my sister laughed and told me that I must be joking. When she realized I was serious, she told me I was a terrible mother for letting my daughter walk all over me and not setting boundaries. She ranted on for a while, but she basically said that 14-year-olds are incapable of going out themselves, and that I was being lazy and neglectful by allowing her to do that. She also said I would never allow my kids to do that. So I replied by saying, "That's exactly why your kids live with their dad." She got very quiet and then told me to leave. When I got home, I started thinking more about what I said, and while at the time I thought I was simply telling her what she needed to hear, now I'm wondering if I crossed the line. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. A hit dog hollers. She was only upset by what you said because deep down she knows is the truth and doesn't want to admit it to herself or anyone else. And she had no problem telling Opie what a bad mom she is. Go figure. All the worst people can dish it out but can't take anything. They just crumble under the weight of their own BS. Amen. Opie's sister could have had a better relationship with her kids if she had eased up. And honestly, probably still could if she would make amends. Instead, she's making herself the victim while judging others for actually trying to care about their kids and have a more open relationship. Not stay home. Your sister thinks holding boundaries is the same thing as making demands. And she'll eventually learn that her children aren't accessories to treat as she wishes without consequence. This right here. Opie's sister emulated their parents, I'm assuming, and thought, it worked fine for me, so it should work for my kids too. But she's too stubborn to admit that was the key reason for the divorce. While it was a low blow, I say Opie wasn't the a-hole for saying it. Sis needs a reality check. Was it a low blow though? The sister had been crapping in Opie's parenting for a while. Also, why would you want to control the lives of your children instead of guiding them to adulthood? Learning about responsibilities and staying safe? I never understood those controlling parents you see so often on the sub. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I'd rather spend my vacation at the beach than sleep in her living room? I have been living abroad for almost 2 years, and I haven't visited home since I moved away. Next year, I will have the opportunity to take a month off work with a paid round-trip flight to visit home. This is part of my job's bonus structure. This trip wouldn't be until the late spring at the earliest, but I decided to talk to my family about it now, because I know my parents like to plan trips every year in the spring and summer. My parents live in a 4-bedroom house, which are currently used as a master suite, a guest room, and 2 offices. My dad works from home and my mom's job is hybrid, so hers is also a craft room. My 28-year-old brother has been living in the guest room since last fall when his ex-girlfriend dumped him and kicked him out. He is saving money for a down payment on a house, and this is why they do not charge him rent to live there. When I asked my mom if I would be able to stay with them for the month I have off, she told me I would be more than welcome to crash on an air mattress in the living room, but she wouldn't be inconveniencing my brother just for me. I was really confused by this because I hadn't even mentioned my brother. She then told me that since my brother also works from home, he's been using her office to work in addition to the guest room, and that means I wouldn't be able to use her office for an air mattress. For the record, the room he sleeps in has a nice handmade desk built into one of the corners that I guess he uses for a large flat screen. I asked her if it was realistic to assume my brother would even still be there 8 months from now, considering he's supposedly saving for a house. She said he doesn't currently make enough to afford a house in their town. It isn't willing to consider a neighboring town, which is what my other 2 siblings did when they bought their houses. So is living there indefinitely. I was annoyed. My brother is the youngest, and she has a history of prioritizing whatever he wants over the needs and desires of her other 3 children. And I told her I wouldn't be sleeping on the floor of an open room for a month. I said if I wasn't going to be paying for an Airbnb, I'd rather go to the beach. She was offended that I'd go somewhere else, and told me they'd all really like to see me. I told her if she really wanted to see me, she'd put a little more effort into making sure I was comfortable while I was there. The call ended poorly. This was a few weeks ago and I haven't responded. When I explained what happened to my older brother, he agreed that mom is being a bit unreasonable, but my sister told me I was acting entitled, that I should be grateful they'd let me stay at all. So I told my sister I'm just going to rent an Airbnb at the beach and they can come see me if they want. Am I the a-hole for refusing to stay with them if I have to sleep on the living room floor? Not the a-hole. It's not like you are going for a week. You're going for a month, and it's insane to be upset that you're not willing to crash in the living room with 0 privacy. Seriously, she has no problem making Opie sleep on an air mattress on the living room floor for an entire month, but mommy won't tell her son to work in his own room while she's there so she can sleep in the office? Not the a-hole. Who the heck wants to sleep on an air mattress for a month and in the living room? Your mom is being very unreasonable and unduly playing favorites. Go to the beach. I'd rather go to the beach anyway. And when they come visit her, they can bring the air mattress and sleep in her living room. Not stay home. Your mom is the real villain here. As families morph over time, bedrooms change, etc., as you see. Your parents are no longer keeping room for everyone. It is not unreasonable for them to have allowed your brother to live there for the time being. Where she really goes off the rails is how she handles this. She should have simply said that she feels bad because the house is only set up for one guest at a time, and they are currently supporting the brother for the reasons given. Presumably, the two of you can't share the guest room somehow. If it were me, I would have taken great pains to make you feel welcome and loved, even while explaining the challenges. She doesn't seem to have even tried. You unfortunately showed your frustration with a biting response. You're not the a-hole, but if you could have kept calm and understood the dilemma beforehand, it would have gone better. If I were your parents, I probably would have offered to help pay for a B&B just because I felt bad that you couldn't stay with us. Hope you can work out a relationship going forward. I didn't mention this in the post because I didn't think it was relevant, but since moving out, I have noticed that they treated my moving out differently from my other siblings. They retained all of their rooms for a few months before making changes after they moved out, but they started repainting my room an hour after they got back from dropping me off the airport. I lived with them as an adult to save money and take grad classes, and they charged me rent and utilities that they don't charge my brother. I think this whole situation has just hammered in that my mom doesn't value me the same way she values my other siblings. It's been weeks, and she hasn't even noticed I haven't been in contact. I usually call at least once a week. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my son that being a nerd doesn't mean that he's superior to anyone, especially his little sister? I have two kids, Jake and Jamie. Jake is 16 male and big into the media I like is my entire personality. And I'm better than you because I like those things. It has grown up to be very judgmental, cold, and mean. We honestly do not know how this happened, but his nasty attitude comes out the most at his little sister. Jamie is 14 female and is a very bubbly, friendly girl. She makes friends with everyone everywhere she goes, and she is also kind of a mini trendsetter for her school. She started selling homemade scrunchies at school and it took off. Jake makes fun of her all the time for being vapid, girly, etc. So my husband talked to him about misogyny because we were both shocked on where that came from. We thought the issue was handled and he started to be nicer to Jamie. Until the last week of school, Jamie came home from school having won an award for the scrunchie business. We were proud of her and had tacos, her favorite, for dinner. Mind you, if Jake did something like that, we'd do the same. We love to celebrate their successes. Well, Jake was displeased at dinner and interrupted to talk about his video game accomplishments. We were all very polite and listened and congratulated him. He just looked at his sister and was like, "And I did that by myself," without having to make everyone else hear about it all the time and dressing up like a pick-me to get everyone's attention. I just looked at my husband, then Jake, and said, "Being a nerd doesn't make you superior to anyone in this family, Jake. You can like video games and still be a nice person to your family, especially your little sister. Quit acting like a little snot." He got red in the face and took his little tantrum upstairs to his room. Since then, he's barely talked to anyone and just holes up in his room playing games all day. My husband did tell me that I shouldn't have said that, because it's going to pit them against each other more, even though Jamie doesn't get why her brother treats her like this. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Cut the internet off and see how much he can do by himself then. Perfect idea. And let us know if you do that in an update. Kid sounds like a nice guy in the making. I recommend some therapy, but also try to open a dialogue with him to figure out where all this anger towards anything feminine comes from. I think there might actually be some kind of secret here. Not stay home. A lot of younger people who play a lot of video games are subject to others online. Men who play video games online kind of tend to be misogynistic and judge feminine things. He could be picking it up through the gaming. Either way, not stay home. Definitely find out why it's like this and post an update. The gaming community can be full of nasty, juvenile, and toxic people. How involved are you guys in monitoring what he plays, who he is talking to, etc.? Having seen his attitude, his beliefs, and his actions towards his sister, you as his parents don't get to throw your hands up and shake your heads. Get him in therapy or with a mentor, or start having one-on-one time with him to break down these views. They need to be addressed now, else you are going to have a grown man with nasty ideas and attitudes in the world. Step up as parents. Calling him a nerd was stupid and unhelpful. That's not accurate or even vaguely a lesson or hard truth. And surely a one-off remark is not enough. Do more, do better, get more involved. Your son needs you guys now. Step up before it's too late. Seriously, this is exactly what my now 40-year-old brother was like growing up. And it was indulged. We now all have to deal with a barely employed, condescending a-hole who still talks about his video game accomplishments at dinner. and breaks down in tantrums regularly. I wish my mom had the balls to call him a mean nerd back then, lol. Last story. Am I the a-hole for threatening to call the cops on my parents and calling my dad a human trash can after what they did to my sister? This entire thing honestly sounds like some type of soap opera and caused people a lot of grief, so I'd like third-party opinions. I, 17 female, have a half-sister on my dad's side, Jasmine, 27 female. Me and Jasmine aren't super duper close, but she's very nice. We do keep in touch and just vent about life. Dad isn't very understanding towards Jasmine. I don't really know how to put it, but from what I've seen and heard, he's very pushy towards her and almost always makes some remark about how she's not doing enough. Mom doesn't like her much and says that she doesn't respect them. Jasmine has a friend, John, early/mid-30s male. I put quotation marks because it's obvious she and John are a lot more than friends, and she has told me before that she loves him, but she refers to him as a friend in front of mom and dad, although they also suspect otherwise. John lives in a neighboring state to us. Jasmine was going to catch a train there and meet him at a station. Long story short, and from the details I heard, Mom got hold of Jasmine's phone when she came over at some point and blocked John's number. She has her Gmail on her phone, which Mom also blocked John's email from. Jasmine didn't realize until way later. This caused a huge misunderstanding between them. She basically went to the station, waited for hours, and he didn't show up. Jasmine was in a really bad state and couldn't believe my parents could pull something like that. So I asked them, and Mom said she and Dad thought this needed to be done for her own good. I shouted at them, threatening to call the cops if they don't apologize to Jasmine and try to make things right. Side note, I don't know if the cops would do anything in this case or if they're relevant. I just said it in the moment. Dad said I was butting into adult matters and I was too young to understand. I said he understood enough and called him a human trash can. They said I need to mind my mouth and apologize to them, which I refused to. Mom said how she can't believe I would act like this, and I've picked up on Jasmine's tendencies. My uncle came over the other day and I heard Dad crying to him about how he's so hurt by his daughter. Me. I think what I said was justified, but there's a quite few people telling me I'm in the wrong. So did I go too far with my outburst? Am I the a-hole? Butting into adult matters. Mom said after stealing her adult daughter's phone to block the number and email of a man she is with. It's not even the mom's daughter, it's her stepdaughter. Not the a-hole. But OP, stay close to your half-sister. You've seen what your parents are capable of, and I have a feeling they're going to do this stuff to you too. Not the a-hole. Blocking John from Jasmine's phone was vile and awful. The way the world is today, Jasmine could have been robbed or abducted waiting around a train station for hours. Yes, this was part of my reasoning too. I just felt really bad for her. Despite my parents' thoughts, she really is a very kind person and sister. Your mom could be jealous of Jasmine knowing your dad had another life before she came along. If anything, your parents are like jealous teenage girls that are spoiled. Not the a-hole. Your parents shouldn't have gone through her phone. Why hasn't she said anything to them? Or has she? She did. They had a whole massive argument. And Dad has said that if she listened and didn't try to argue all the time, they wouldn't have had to do this or something. I don't really know the full details. That's dumb. If she didn't listen like they're saying, it still doesn't give them the right to go through her phone. And she's an adult, so that's invading her privacy. It's still invading privacy of a minor, but saying that as an adult she can do what she wants. It's not like she was hurting anyone by meeting him, so what even is the problem? Am I the a-hole for refusing to babysit the golden child's baby after he disowned me for being adopted? Plus updates. Original post. I, 20 female, was adopted when I was 16 by my half-brother and his wife, who were in their late 30s at a time. They already had 6 children when they adopted me, but it was never an issue. They have treated me like their own kids since they met me, and later adopted me. So did all their other kids. Except for one, their golden child who is only 4 months older than me, who we will call Chad. Chad has always been an insensitive a-hole to literally everyone, including our other siblings. He would literally fist fight our older sister, say horrible and mean things to everyone, and get away with it. He also had extreme anger issues that would cause broken doors, holes in walls, etc. He also got to do everything me and my sister were never able to do. Got a free car, go out at night, etc. When we were still in school together during high school, he got up in front of our whole class here and told everyone I wasn't his sister, and never would be. He then told me in front of his friends that I would never be a part of his family, and I should just get over it and walked off. This was not a one and done thing. He would keep doing this up until he moved out and I stopped seeing/talking to him. Golden Boy once again got a limelight of the family after he got married right after high school, moved out to his wife's family's house, and then had a baby, the first grandbaby. Since this has happened, I have stayed as far away from him as possible, only seeing him for family pictures every year because our mother asks. Recently, I decided to come forward to our mom about what he said and did because she was upset about how I was distancing myself from him. She basically pulled the "that's still my kid and it's my first grandbaby" card as the reason she wasn't going to be upset over it. I didn't really care, to be honest. I knew it wasn't going to change her mind on her kid anyway. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message begging me to come to babysit for them because you're the only one who can deal with these kinds of babies because no one will help. Apparently, they're weaning their kid off of breastfeeding, and the baby is extremely clingy because of that. And the fact that mom is a germophobia who has basically isolated this kid since birth, it literal has only been held by like 6 people since it's been born. They know I don't sleep for the most part because I'm an insomniac with ADHD, and I also am not bothered by crying. For some reason, I can sit for hours with a baby crying and it doesn't bother me. Can't tell if that's a blessing or a curse at this point. My sister is mad at me because apparently they haven't asked anyone else in the family for help but me, and everyone wants to go see this baby. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to be around or take care of the baby because his father said I'm not a part of his family? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Not the a-hole. I will send them your hourly rates you will charge for the work. When Chad tries to pull the family card, say clearly that he has always publicly announced that you are not his sister and never will be. So you are only keeping Chad's word. Oh, please do this. This is so perfectly petty. OP should make sure to remind him of every single time he wronged her. Make him really think about his actions. The entitlement he has is insane, and the fact that everyone seems fine with it boggles my mind. Not the a-hole at all. Stand your ground. You do not owe Chad anything. He took action. Now he has to face the consequences. Just keep repeating, he said that I was not a part of his family and never would be. Therefore, I owe him nothing. This is not open for discussion. My decision is final. If you decide to go, make an absurd rate of $100 per hour paid up front. I say this gently, but your adopted parents aren't as great as you think they are. Treating your children differently, showering gifts and praise on 1 out of 7 kids and allowing one to be an a-hole to the rest is horrible. And I'm sorry they knew way before you sat your mom down and told her. She has always known and looked the other way. Now for the first update. I want to say this. I read everyone's comments and it made me feel much better knowing my feelings on this whole situation are valid. I wanted to give an update that most of you may not like. After I posted, I ended up talking to 2 of my friends from high school. They were actually there during multiple occasions when Chad publicly said all that stuff. I talked with them for a little while, and one of these friends actually came over almost weekly when I was still living at my parents' home, so she firsthand understands my family. We talked, and we all mutually agreed that I go this once and see if I can mend things. If not, I can tell my mom and sister I tried, and we are done with the whole thing. And if the whole negative thing with my family keeps up, I will cut them off for good. So I accepted to go babysit. I went over to Chad's house around 8 p.m. As soon as I showed up, I was greeted by Chad's wife, who was extremely happy to see me. She was tired. You could just tell she had the "I have a 1-year-old" face going on. She talked to me for a few minutes about how happy she was I came over, and how she was glad to be going out with Chad. I kinda just listened to her go on and on, before she finally got to the baby. Let's call him Seth. She explained to me his night routine, feeding, etc. Nothing too big. Then she got to the end where she started going on about how he was having crying fits at night and how he wouldn't get to sleep until mid-morning. I was a little meh on that, but all babies have different routines, I guess. She then said they would only be gone for about 4 hours and that they would be home around like 12:30, 1 at the most. After this, Chad shows up from their room, literally starts talking to his wife, looks at me and then just kind of looks me over for a minute and gives me a small wave and nod before heading out of the house. His wife follows and simply tells me to call or text if I need anything. For a minute, I was just stunned, but went to work to see Seth. Which was odd, because it was my first time seeing him in person and not in the photos that are hung around our parents' house. In person, he is the cutest little baby ever. He was fine the whole time. and he only cried because there was no one in the room, not because of the weaning. By this time, it was around 11:30, almost 12. I would check the clock every few minutes just to see what time it was. 12:30 rolled around, and I'm like, should I text them? And I'm like, no, let me give them another few minutes until I need to text them. I ended up texting both of them at 1, asking where they were because they did say they would be home by now. I got no reply from either of them. They finally show up at 3 in the morning. I'm livid at this point. Not even over having to take care of Seth for a longer period of time, but just because they never texted me back. Like, what if there was emergency or something? They walk into the living room and I'm just like, I texted asking where y'all were and no one answered. And Chad's wife starts saying, oh, Chad said it was fine and that it would only be an hour more. And I was like, you know what? It's fine. Whatever. Seth is sleeping. She looks at me all weird and I rolled my eyes, say, it's not the weaning that makes him cry at night. He gets lonely. He's clingy. Just let him know you are in the room when he starts crying and he will go right back to sleep. I started to walk out with my stuff. As I was right about to walk completely past Chad, I turned around and was like, so you aren't going to say anything to me? After I looked after your kid for like 7 hours now? He snorted at me and was like, no, my wife is the one who talked me into this anyway. Mad at his point, I said, so this wasn't, I don't know, possibly a way to be able to apologize for high school? Or maybe all those other times you decide to outcast me from the family? Because I was under the impression that maybe you want to patch things up because of you asking me of all people to watch your kid. He sat there for a minute and just said, what should I apologize? Because literally nothing from high school has changed. Man, you really do need to just grow up and understand that me and my wife aren't going to cater to you like mom and dad did. Because you're adopted. You ain't our family and you won't ever be. At this point, I just got in my car and left. I ended up texting my mom about all of it, thinking she would get it in the morning when she woke up. No, of course she had to be awake. She apparently told Chad's wife about the conversation we had about all the stuff Chad had said and done to me in school. Apparently, his wife felt bad because she had an adopted sister too, and felt horrible that Chad had done and said all those things. Apparently, mom didn't know about Chad asking about the babysitting thing until now, and she started talking to the wife who is now upset. Apparently, she thought Chad would have changed since then, and didn't think he will act the way he did when I left. I told my mom that I'm done with him, and that if something ever happened with Seth, then I would be there, but I was done with them until that happens. Way things are going, I will most likely be cutting my whole family off, because this isn't worth the stress anymore. You handled this great. You can defend your actions to your family, and they can get off your back about Chad. So glad you don't need to cut off your family. I'm hoping I won't have to. I mostly say this because I truly do love just about all my other siblings. And I don't want to have to pick and choose who to stay in contact with because of Chad, my mom and my sister. I feel bad for Chad's wife. She sounds like she would be grateful for the family support, but Chad is gatekeeping for control. Maybe reach out to her and ignore Chad. Also, what does your brother think of his son? Honestly, she is extremely quiet for the most part and tries to stay away from any kind of contact or drama. I feel bad for her for being stuck in this whole thing, but sadly, I don't think I will talk to her again. The longest conversation we have ever had together was literally during this whole thing. As for my half-brother, he stopped pushing me into doing anything with Chad or related to Chad once I turned 20 and moved out. He told me I could do what I want. I know he's not happy with Chad, but I know he's not going to actually act and do anything about it. He more so acknowledges what Chad has done, holds him accountable, but doesn't make a move to say or do anything. He's doing a better job than my mom though, because he at least doesn't choose his side or tries to make an excuse to keep backing Chad. Can you ask your mom why she accepts Chad treating you like this? Let her know explicitly that it's hurtful that everyone seems to be okay with him treating you like this, even though it's ridiculous to have to explain. When I had a talk with her about all the stuff Chad did, she made it clear that she still loves Chad extremely, and that that's her son and grandbaby, and it's not going to change anything. Acting as if by me telling her what he did and how it hurt me was a cause to somehow make her choose which child to love or something. Even though it wasn't, and I made that clear. But clearly we see which one she chose. I also try to find out why she doesn't see the problem with how most of the family sees the whole thing, and I still can't get a clear answer as to why she's okay with it. Second update a month later. So it has been a hot minute since I last updated on the whole Chad situation. It's mainly due to the surprising fact that my family, my mother and sister, are not bugging me as much lately. The first day or two after the interaction with Chad was a bit hectic. Both of them are blowing up my phone, trying to get me to talk to them. Mostly my mom just making excuses for Chad, and my sister trying to basically just tell me to get over it. I ended up telling the both of them, in text and over the phone, and I would be cutting myself off completely from Chad and his little family. This sparked some anger, but my mother soon went quiet and later my sister. Everything seemed to be going pretty good after that for a while. That was until a week later when my sister showed up unannounced at my apartment demanding that I take the blessing of getting to be around Chad's sheltered child when no one else seemed to be able to. Basically acting like it was some huge honor that I was asked to babysit. I almost snapped. I wanted to call her a witch and to get off my property and not come back because I was just so sick of it. But I didn't. For my doorstep, I told her that if she wanted to see the baby so bad, just go over and see it. It wasn't my issue to deal with, then slammed the door in her face and watched her leave. It's been radio silent for a while now until earlier this week. I was scrolling on Instagram when I noticed that my oldest brother, the one that I get along super well and supported me about cutting Chad off, and his girlfriend of 4 years, the same age as me, are now engaged and posted pictures of the proposal. I noticed the post had been made last week, but no one had told me? Not even my mother? I texted my brother's girlfriend asking her about literally everything that was happening, and she was surprised because my mother had said she had told everyone in the family about the wedding. She then told me that they would be holding a family meeting at my parents' house to talk about the wedding plans, and I said okay. The meeting was for today around dinner time. I showed up and walked into the house and noticed that a lot of stuff was different decoration-wise. My parents had our family photos all arranged around the living room and a few random frames with multiple small photos in them as well. I noticed that they had replaced multiple small photos of specifically me from the frames and replaced them with now pictures of Chad and his wife, and my older brother and his girlfriend. What were maybe 6 pictures of me in any of the walls? There were 2 now, a baby picture of me and my senior high school photo that are now in the hallway, not even in the living room. I ignored it and didn't say anything. After a while, everyone showed up except for, of course, Chad, who my mom pulled the he wanted to spend time with his baby BS. They all started talking about the people plans of the party, aka people who were going to be key parts of the wedding cast. I tried my best to listen and take in all of what my brother's girlfriend was saying, and I noticed by the end of it all that my name was literally never added into any of the main plans. I wasn't mentioned at all. For another in the plans, that I started to question why I was there, if I wasn't going to be in the main plans of the wedding. I was kinda like, why not just send me an invitation then? I went home and texted his girlfriend asking about what had happened at a little meeting. Apparently, my mother had told her that I wouldn't want to be involved in any of the wedding stuff and that it wasn't my thing. She called me infeminine and that I wouldn't like doing any kind of bridal stuff because I'm not girly. She then said everything was set in stone now. My older sister is going to be a bridesmaid and my little sister is to be a flower girl. My little brother will be the ring holder and my other little brother and Chad will be groomsmen. And apparently my mother also told her that because of what happened with Chad, that I shouldn't be sat at a family table but at a guest table. I will just be another guest at the wedding. I didn't really say anything back because it hurt. It hurt that my mother would say that about me, that I was unfeminine, and that just because I myself didn't do a lot of girly things in my spare time, I wasn't going to be able or enjoy doing something like a wedding or be a bridesmaid. I can't believe she would say that about me. To be honest, I don't know if I'm even going to go. The wedding is scheduled for the end of the year. It sounds stupid and petty, but this hurt me. It hurt that I'm being outcasted, most likely due to Chad once again. As I'm typing this, my sister is texting me about how she's helping plan all the bride stuff. Honestly, I'm going to leave it off at this for right now, because I don't know how to even feel, if you know what I mean right now. What's your older brother's take on it? Does he know about you being excluded? We had a small talk about it, but he is in a hard spot now seeing as they have already finalized who they want on the wedding party. And I guess his fiancé had already talked to everyone who she wants on her bridal team. The one thing he said that he's going to try and get changed is the table seating, because he thinks that what my mom said about the whole Chad thing is stupid. He said that he will try and get me back at a family table just away from Chad and his family. Do you actually want to go to the wedding? It was the only other one I was actually wanting to go to. Not going to my older sister because of how mean she is to me, and she lets her boyfriend verbally bully me whenever he's near me. My little brother, who is 15, is being pressured into marrying his girlfriend once they turn of age, but not going to that. And the rest of my siblings are elementary school age. I guess I was just really excited because he's the only sibling that I actually get along with. Third update. I don't even know what to say. I didn't expect to update again so soon, but I just got the news from my older brother's fiancé. Chad's wife is pregnant again. Update. I told my ex-wife that being a part-time dad has been the best year of my life. Original post. I, male 36, met my ex-wife, female 33, when I was 25. We fell in love, and the children came sooner than we planned, but it just happened and I loved the heck out of my children. Female 9, male 7.5, and female 5. First few years of our relationship was great, but then it wasn't. Looking back, it wasn't anyone's fault. We just became very different people. After we had our youngest child, our life became non-existent. I felt like for my wife, the purpose of sleeping with me was done. Now we have 3 beautiful children. After 3 years, we started having sex again in a form of mercy hand works in bed. It wasn't enough for me, but she told me that she's tired and busy with 3 small children. I was tired too, but I was more than prepared to make effort to make plans and time for romance. Not only the physical act that suffered, but even intimacy and romance. I had vasectomy, so ex-wife didn't need to take unnecessary hormones because we were done having children. When it started affecting our children, seeing us very irritated and cold towards each other, I thought I should man up and pull the plug. We haven't been happy or intimate since before our second was born, and we haven't been really intimate since we conceived our youngest. We should have ended it way earlier, but the guilt of breaking the children's home was heavy, until I noticed that our home was already broken, and my children aren't stupid not to see the sellotape we're trying to hold it together with. So I asked for divorce. Everyone told me I was mad and to think about the children. And it was very hard in the beginning, yes. I left the house for my ex, rented a 2-bedroom nearby, and we started doing 1 week each. I was positively surprised at how much happier the children became, seeing me happy and not easily irritated and brooding. I started seeing my girlfriend, female 40, about a year ago, and what was thought to be a casual one-time thing turned out to be the love of my life. She is amazing in every aspect. Kind, loving, successful, funny, and so freaking beautiful. She's child-free, and she was happy that I was done having children. In my child-free weeks, I can just be with her, just being me. Late breakfasts in bed, morning fun, wherever I wanted home. I know it makes me sound like a selfish douche, but on my weeks I give 100% because I'm content and happy with life. She has met my children too, and they adore her. Why this lengthy background? I'll tell you. My ex, and my ex-mother-in-law and my own mother behind her, has been hinting that maybe we should go back together now. The children are older, we are less tired, and we are much happier now, so we aren't going to fight all the time like we used to. Ex wants a real relationship too, and she will give me as much sex as I wanted. Wow, is that really what she thinks I want? More mercy for my sake? To think of the children. Ex is tired of being a single mom, while I'm playing a bachelor every other week. Give them their old safe home back, no need for hopping from place to place. While the guilt was nagging at me, I rejected her advances and ignored her and the guilt because I'm happy for the first time in years, maybe ever. Until Friday when my girlfriend came home crying. She asked me maybe we should break up and that she doesn't want to be in the way of my and my children's happiness. She asked me if I was still in love with my ex. It broke my heart to see her broken. Like I didn't do a good job showing her what she meant to me and how much I loved her. Turned out, ex-wife has contacted her, telling her that she was the reason we aren't back together and the children are suffering. That we love each other and she is my fun for now. I called my ex livid and she called me selfish. I then told her that being a part-time dad was the best thing that ever happened to me because I'm a human, not only a father. My ex-wife started crying. I apologized for hurting her, but she hung up. Now I'm being bombed by my mom at the rest that I'm a selfish man and a terrible father. My mom even sent me a video with my children where she asked them how they would feel if mommy and daddy moved back together. And they were so happy, saying yes and jumping. I can't forget my daughter's face lighting up with happiness at a prospect. This video was sent to my girlfriend as well, and now she's distant and broken. I hear her cry whenever she thinks I don't hear her. Am I being wrong here? Am I being a terrible parent? What my family doesn't understand is that my children's happiness now is the result of me leaving our toxic, depressing existence. But how can you explain that to small children? Now for the top comments before reading the update. I would save that video and contact your lawyer about parental alienation. I would also limit contact with your mother. Sit down with your kids and explain manipulation in an age-appropriate way. Not the a-hole. Don't let your mother see your children. Take that video to your lawyer. What they are doing is parental alienation. OP's mother has done more to traumatize the kids than OP ever did. Absolutely disgusting behavior. OP, any child of divorce will say yes when asked that question. I know I did. But did I really want to live like that again, walking on eggshells because of the atmosphere in our home when my parents were together? Hell no. I hated it. It was horrible. Your kids like seeing you happy, and some a-hole in the family's lying to them that you would still be this happy if you go back with a mother. Your kids know it won't be like that, but are probably too scared to say no. They are happy you are happy. You tried your best. Do not go back. It won't change. And how did I know? As soon as you said your girlfriend was upset that she had been contacted by your ex. This is a nasty move on her part. This is disgusting what they're doing to your kids. Tell her to knock it off, or you will contact the lawyer. She's filling the kid's head with crap. Good luck to you. Just keep being a good dad when you have them and have a good time when you don't. You have balance and you do not give that up. Yes, it broke your heart to see your daughter's face, but that video was sent for that reason. Blackmail. She is sick. You get one life. And if you're happy, kids are happy, then that, my friend, is a win. Good luck. Tell your girlfriend you're sorry they got to her, but you're not going anywhere. Man, this hit close to home. My children literally were walking on eggshells, not knowing when their mother and I would have a row, even when we tried not to fight in front of them, and the guilt they felt because somehow they believed they were the reason for these rows. The kids always think it's their fault, just because they don't know why it's happening. But they see daddy smile now, that's a big change for them. And stop doubting yourself if you were not a good parent. You would not be here asking for advice. This is a case of, I don't want him, but he's happy. Now I want him back. How can he be happy without me? She expected you to be miserable and it didn't work. Choose to be happy. Your girlfriend is not a problem here. Tell her, you make me smile. Do you know how I longed for someone to look at me and smile and make me smile? Well, we found each other and I don't want it to change. Now for the update. Thanks everyone for the advice and suggestions. I'm overwhelmed with the amount of the support I got here. Here is my update, but before that, I want to address the elephant in the room, and that is that I have stepped on my toes with my bold statement about being divorced. I think the more expected and virtuous approach is to be devastated and guilt-ridden. My experience is something else, however, and I really tried to be genuine and honest here. Divorce is hard and terrifying. Many people, both men and women, hesitate and stay away longer than necessary because of one reason or another. I can't tell all unhappy people to get divorced since I don't know y'all's situation, but for those who can, do it. I was trying to explain what I have discovered. The positive side of having shared custody, because only the negative is talked about. I'm sure many divorced people get what I meant by having every other week child-free is awesome. We are humans with feelings. Our love for our children doesn't stop or take a break when they're out of sight. They don't need to be present for us to love and think about them. So I will double down and say that being a part-time parent is just awesome, no matter the gender. It is okay to feel that way. You are not a lesser parent for it. I've talked to my mother about what she did and she was very remorseful. Apparently, Dad has had a talk with her about this too. He was shocked at what she's done, and she seems to have realized the seriousness of what she's done. I took her apology, but I was firm on my boundaries, and that I didn't want her to be in my children's life for a while until I have sorted out their feelings and talked to them. She was reluctant to acknowledge. My girlfriend, however, I made it clear that after the children, she is my priority before myself, and definitely before her, Mom. So how much she wants to be in my life depends on how much she respects my life and the people I love. I've talked to my ex-wife too. Made it clear that under no circumstances is she ever to contact my girlfriend again. I told her that this was still a new relationship, but any contact is going to be with me. I told her that my girlfriend has nothing to do with my decision of divorce. I have no romantic feelings for her, my ex-wife, and that I know she doesn't have any feelings for me either. She just wants me out of convenience. I don't. She started crying and telling me that I didn't get to tell her what she's feeling. I agreed and apologized. I told her then I will only speak to my behalf. I want us to be friends and to raise our children to be the great people they're on the path to becoming. I don't want them to be used as pawns in the sick game she and the mothers are playing. I will not allow it and will do whatever it takes to protect them. I suggested that we can start family therapy because I needed her to understand the turmoil her and my mother put our children through. I never want that to happen again. She told me that she didn't want my girlfriend to be in their lives yet because she didn't know her. Fair enough, but I reminded her that our agreement is that when a relationship is serious, that's when we introduced our new partners to our children. And this is going to happen eventually, so she better get used to it. I also talked to her about me not going to take her workload on her weeks, meaning that I won't be dropping by every morning to wake up the children and take them to school. She will have to start waking up in the morning, like any other parent out there. About the food, I'll still send home-cooked food with my children on the weeks they're with her, because I know that I can't demand her to cook, but at the same time, I don't want my children to eat junk food. About me mentioning that her home is a pigsty, I know that my eldest daughter has mentioned that it wasn't always pleasant at mommy's house, but again, now I don't live there to clean. I can't demand my ex to live in a way she doesn't want to. I have, however, offered that if Fridays my children go home to her to spend a week, I will send a cleaning service so the children have a somewhat clean environment. She agreed. She was angry about having to wake up early, however, because she usually starts work at 10 a.m. I guess she will have to adjust. About my girlfriend. We were supposed to spend a coming weekend together with the children, but I will respect my ex-wife's wishes. So for now, at least until we have gone to some sessions with the children, then I can bring it up again. She's spending the rest of this week with me, however. I know that she feels guilty. I have tried to explain that she has nothing to do with whatever happened and that she was dragged into this situation without any reason. Because with or without her, I would never go back to my old life. But I left this marriage before I even knew she existed. I don't know if she believed me or felt reassured. She just said that she loved me. I apologized to her and I'll try to make her feel comfortable with me again. I guess this is one of those tests that relationships hit, and we shall see if our connection is strong enough to overcome this. I think it is. Wait, so ex doesn't cook for the kids or clean the house, and you go over in the mornings to get the kids ready for school, and she gets a week off to herself every other week? What's wrong with her? Sounds like depression, honestly. I've never really heard of anyone, parent or not, single or not, who didn't clean, didn't cook, and didn't wake up at reasonable times. At least when they knew they'd have obligations in the morning. Who wasn't depressed, honestly. Got divorced. Ex-husband is thriving financially and romantically. Yup, she's depressed. What makes you think she's like this only after divorce? Everything seems to point to her always being like this. Why did you think he got out? OP literally says it was the same before. He was just there to do the cleaning, etc. They're bending over backwards to give a woman an excuse. Holy crap on a cracker. You've been going to her house every day to get the kids ready for school? No wonder she thought she still had reason to think she was still in control. Also, make sure the counselor understands that the point of the sessions are for post-divorce co-parenting. Do not let your ex try to make it a reconciliation. Show the counselor the videos and all the other shenanigans your ex and both mothers have done. You should also let your ex know that your own mother is on restriction because of their crap. Good luck. Also, if you've been going to the house every day to get them ready for school, you're selling yourself short, calling yourself a part-time parent. Agreed. OP is finally getting a more equal share of parenting, and he has space and time for himself. I experienced this too, and it could be easy to wallow in self-pity as a father. Not getting to be a father all the time, and it does hurt, but there isn't anything I can do to manufacture more time with my kids. So I may as well invest in myself and find ways to live my life as a person to its fullest. I hope OP's ex-wife can understand this someday as well. That she was dragged into this situation without any reason. Oh, there was a reason. It was a bad one, but there was a reason. Your ex and the moms had it in their head that if your girlfriend wasn't in the picture, you had no choice but to get back with your ex. They were, of course, 100% wrong, but that's not what their fantasy told them. It makes me happy to read that you've set them straight. Right? As if the girlfriend is gone, so are OP's feelings for her, and in some miraculous way, he will fall in love with ex again. Some people are just delusional. Last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my wife that my son will always come before her? My 32 male wife, 30 female, is concerned over our financial situation. I think her concern is misplaced, but I told her my income isn't going to change anytime soon, so I asked her what she wanted we do about it. She suggested that when my son, her stepson, turns 18, we should start charging him rent. I immediately shut down that idea and told her we would have to think of something else, because there's no way I'm charging my son to live in our house. She said it was reasonable since I was paying most of his college tuition, but I told her there are alternatives. I suggested we stopped eating out so much because it's $50 to $100 per meal, but she didn't like that idea. I suggested other things which she rejected, so I told her I'm open to suggestions, but my son isn't going to be our source of income. She told me I should think more of her than my son, which made me a little mad. So I told her my son will always come before her. She called me an a-hole after that and hasn't talked to me since. Did I overstep? Now for the comments. You had a kid at 14, but not the a-hole. You did right by your son, and your current wife needs to adjust her attitude. Maybe look for a better job herself if she wants a higher income household. It wasn't planned, but yes. My mother helped raise him until I was ready to raise him independently. I was 15, even though that's not much better. Kudos to you and your mom for stepping up and putting your kid first. Don't ever stop doing it. Not the a-hole. If she can't cut out eating out so much, there's no way the next step is charge an 18-year-old rent. Is she working? Can she get a better job? She doesn't work. Problem solved. Wife, we can make the freeloader in this house get a job and help out with the finances. OP, great idea. What do you think you could do for work? Not the a-hole. I'd be suspicious of any parent who thought of others before they thought of their children, even a spouse. It's great that you're able and willing to support your son. On the contrary, your wife sucks for rather having an 18-year-old student pay rent than skipping some restaurant visits. And OP's current wife doesn't work herself either. Which is hilarious that she expects an 18-year-old to hold down a job and complete his studies by the by. The entitlement.